Welcome, one and all. Beautiful day here today, 28th of January. Full moon last night, beautiful in Australia, clear skies. Today's a rather coolish day here. And welcome everybody, welcome listeners, and thanks for joining. As I promised, today will be a follow-up of last week's show we did regarding the perfected superior claim of the People's Trust. And without further ado, it's with great pleasure to welcome the rest of the guys. Lisa, hello, how are you?
Hi Santos, morning. It's raining here too, and I hope the rain doesn't get too loud for you. I was hoping it would sound like a nice water fountain in the background, but if it gets too much, let me know.
It does. It sounds great. What have you got? Have you got a flat roof or something to get that sound?
Oh yes, above me I have.
Yeah, that's nice.
And I'm outdoors because it's still warm. It's pouring, but it's warm.
Yeah. Now, who else have we got? Chris, you there? Bob?
Yeah, hi everybody. It's beautiful down here in Melbourne. Santos will know this. We've got a beautiful, calm, clear, sunny day.
Yep. Nice summer's day. Nice Aquarian summer's day. Of course, the Northern Hemisphere people will not understand what that means, but we in Australia are used to Sagittarius, Capricorn and Aquarius being very, very hot. But normally those signs are associated with winter and the cold. And if you do go out today, folks, might pay to just mention for a couple of minutes that right above your heads at midnight, right now for the next couple of months, will be the winter triangle and the winter hexagon. The winter triangle is inside the winter hexagon. Once you identify the winter triangle, you will have no problems finding the hex. Check it out, guys. It's glorious. When you spot the winter hex, you will always see it there in the winter skies. And you'll always point it out. You can't miss it. Orion is right inside it. And so are Gemini, the twins. Bob, are you there? I think we might have trouble with Bob. But anyway, look, and we've got Dee joining us in about 15 minutes. So Bob's still trying to get on the air. How are you guys anyway, first of all?
Oh, constantly picking up my brain off the floor. Information overload.
Yeah, we're just being gobsmacked by stuff that's starting to pour out. Lisa, just before the show, Lisa said she's going to have to stop the sleep thing. No more sleeping.
Yeah, I was wondering what I could do to do that too, because it seems like we're so busy these days that from all waking hours I spend basically in front of the computer doing all this.
Every now moment is very, very full.
Everything.
Extremely, and there's just so much to talk about. We talked about a lot on the show last week, and obviously we can't cover all the same ground again. We can touch on stuff we went through last week, but there's so many issues that are prescient and directly related, and I believe the astrology is actually for the next couple of months is looking quite stunning. Santos, we started to talk about that yesterday.
Oh yeah, okay. Well, let's do a bit of that too today. We'll do that. I did check out the skies for March, and there's some pretty powerful alignments. There's three, on the 24th of March, we have three major conjugations. Mercury with Uranus, that's a biggie. We have Venus and the Sun. And we will also have Mars and Neptune, if I'm not wrong. Those three. And that's going to spell a lot of powerful energy in the skies for my birthday. And all the way till someone's got some background noise, by the way. What's that?
Yeah, I can hear that too. It's not me, though.
No, I was just wondering what that is.
Bob, are you there?
I'm here, but it wasn't me. I was on mute. And hello, Santos.
Hey, how are you, Bob?
Finally
Thanks
made
for
it
joining
through.
us. Yes, you did. We'll sort out this noise in the background in a minute. Never mind. Now, so we'll talk about that in a minute. But, you know, guys, we did cover a lot of stuff yesterday. What I want to do today is open the caller lines in about, in the next, for the second hour. That way people can hit you up with some pertinent questions. Now, we're not giving any advice, and we're not really experts here. We are just sorting through this ourselves. We know all the ins and outs. Well, not all the ins and outs, but we're working those out of the People's Trust, and we're just trying to share as much as we have. So bear with us, folks. The reason I took this show on today was just to do a follow-up and to be able to field as many questions as possible and perhaps cover stuff that we didn't get to in the first one. So, guys, if we were to speak about today, if we could speak about the positive subject of how we can now act knowing that we are under a perfected superior trust. Now, the powers that be or that were may not acknowledge it, but since the rules of law are those, and they perfected the trust perfectly, we can confidently go forward in the light that, and in the knowing that this trust has been perfected in the eyes of heaven. Now, we know that the corporations that currently operate on this planet do not acknowledge that, and so there's probably going to be a little bit of a confrontation there. But how can we, knowing that we are under this trust, how can we live now, and how can we, if we've got cases in court and we've got letters to write and we've got rates to pay and struggles with the banks and all sorts of situations, what can we do? You know, what practical things can we do?
Well, Santos, can I just start by saying that they're not acknowledging it from what I understand. They can't acknowledge it without admitting it, so to speak, without acknowledging and admitting and taking on the liability. So they have to ignore it, and they're caught between a rock and a hard place. They can't admit it and they can't rebut it. They stand unrebutted because they are unrebuttable. And any attempt on their part to unrebut is actually a form of admission. So,
and what it is that they're admitting to is high treason, which is punishable by death in most countries. So they're not going to self-incriminate themselves. They're not going to, openly confess to anything.
You just went a bit garbled then, Bob.
Yeah, he said they're not going to openly confess to anything.
Yeah,
no.
They're not going to self-incriminate themselves.
Yeah.
So
go, Chris.
I was just going to say one of the aspects of this is when you use these UCC filings. I think at this point in time, if you use these UCC filings, one of the things that's going to happen is you won't get any response from them because they can't respond. And a relative of Bob's has actually just submitted some material to the bank based on these UCC filings. Do you want to speak to that briefly, Bob? Because I believe they've had no response.
Go, Bob, please.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was muted. I'm sitting here talking. Yeah, my uncle had a court case, and he was fighting against the line of credit that they were saying that he supposedly owed, and he submitted the UCC filings. He actually did the personal filing, had it recorded, and submitted the entire template that was provided from the One People's Trust as far as the declaration and order is concerned. And he sent that in along with the commercial bill and gave them 72 hours with which to respond. And, of course, they did not respond. and I don't expect them to. But as I learned in kindergarten, silence is golden. So, and what will eventually happen is either they're going to try to ignore it, and which is something that, understand that they have always been pretending to be a court. They've been pretending to be a government for 150 years. And it's all a pretense. It's all a charade. And they're going to try and continue that charade until people start to embody. And this is one of the things that you really have to, this whole idea of embodying the being of free. And when you do that and you stand your ground and you remove all of those illusions and you let them know that they're pretending, then the charade is over. The game is over. Because they can no longer pretend to be acting in the place of any sort of authority figure, because there's none there. It's like a paper dragon. And it may look fierce and show its teeth and growl and even smoke, but the substance behind it is air. And that's all it is. And people need to understand that there's no substance behind their authority unless you consent to it.
Yeah, it's all done by consent, guys, and it all begins with our signature. These people, although we know that the bar is a group of dishonourable traitors practicing their practice of legalese on you, spelling that out with their black magic spells in court on you with their bits of paper, that is dishonourable. And yet, they need your signature so that they can, quote-unquote, be honourable in their practices. You see, so they do all things in honour. First of all, they invite you to sin. Now, I've done this in my presentations. Sinning is signing. That's why there's a silent G in there. Never, ever sign for anything, people. Never, ever sign for anything. You're going to sign anything, box it, or put V.C in front of it because you were signing under duress, or just avoid signing anything, because that's how they do it. They want you to sin with them. If you can sin or sign with their papers, then they lick their lips because they know that their magic is perfected on you and they can act honourably according to them. But they're being exposed. Beautiful things are happening around the world. I did mention last week about the Italians that I'm hooking up with now on a weekly basis. For them to have discovered that the Republic of Italy is a corporation registered in New York, and to find that their government is from New York, is very, very upsetting. It's very upsetting. Same thing is going on in Australia. The state of Victoria, where I was born, is registered in New York. The Commonwealth of Australia is registered in New York. They've done a switcheroony on us. And so basically they've taken everybody off their respective lands and brought them onto some kind of a maritime ship over there in New York, run by the Vatican and the Jesuits and the Zionist banksters. And they have to cease and desist. I guess. What do you reckon, guys? Lisa, we also have Brian from American Kabuki. Can we get?
I think you've also got Dee there too in the queue. She's already with us. And I just before you bring him out though, I just wanted to address the concern people have is cops, because they're the first line of offence, and you know, unfortunately, they're armed and they're dangerous, and for the most part, they're very ignorant of who they really are and the costume they're really wearing. And even as we're in this process of trying to embody this sense of freedom, and you can be feeling amazing and driving down the road doing absolutely nothing wrong and see a cop and have that sense of fear just completely overwhelm you. It still happens to me, even though I know I'm not doing anything wrong. in their eyes. And how we then address this, these individuals who, for the most part, I think really truly do believe they're doing the right thing, and they believe that they are who they say they think they are. They think they are in a position of authority. They think they are protecting the general public. Some of them, I know, are just looking for a fight and believe everybody's guilty. They're just trying to figure out what you've done wrong. And so we need to change our relationship to them. And there are a number of ways we can do that. For me personally, it's about seeing them as people in costumes, but it's also, I think we need to go down to our local police station and start having conversations with these people. By preempting any encounter with them and just having a discussion with them and saying, guys, present them with information, present them with YouTube videos, present them with documents, present them with stuff, and just go, help me help you understand.
One of the things that is important to understand about these filings and what makes these filings so very, very important in their use is because these filings they're coming from within. They're coming from within the system. They're coming from within UCC. And because it's coming from within and because they're unrebutted and it's part of the public record, and what these filings are saying is these people who are issuing collections, who are running private money systems, slavery systems, are guilty of treason. So when you present these documents, the assumption is, because they are operating in that capacity, that they are also guilty of treason, and you are offering them to prove otherwise.
One of the things about what Bob's uncle did is very important in that his document creates a link. His UCC filing, his personal UCC filing, is permanently linked back to the People's Trust filings. And when and if the system tries to contact him again to take up the court case against him that they think they have, all he has to do is point back to his filing, which points to back to the People's Trust filing, and say, excuse me, you haven't yet rebutted my last claim, please rebut. And at some point he may wish to add extra terms and conditions to any further communications, which he's also entitled to do. And that's the powerful part about the UCC stuff, is the interlinking between previous significant filings related to this case and your own. You create that link, it's permanently in place. They are forced to rebut, and you've got to keep drawing their attention to it because they'll try to ignore it.
Beautiful. Let's elaborate more on this. We'll bring in Brian 760. Brian, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Loud and clear. Thank you very much for joining us.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. I appreciate you guys putting on the call.
Yeah, thank you. And also D978. Are you there, D?
I think she needs a couple of minutes.
Oh, okay.
I am right here. I'm just fiddling with technology.
Great. Hey, guys, before we get we welcome you properly and hear from you, let's just go straight to a caller because it looks like we might be busy today. We've got 253. Can we take that caller then? So 253, are you there?
I am. How are you guys?
Very well, thank you.
Good.
This is Loie. Hi, Dee. Hi, Brian.
Hi, Loie.
Hi, Lois.
Hi, Lois.
Hi, babes. Listen, on that UCC and the declaration and so forth, they have to do that 3 times. 72 hours. If they don't rebut, another 72 hours. If they don't rebut, another 72 hours. If they don't rebut, then you can foreclose on them.
Yes.
So it takes 3 times, not just one time, and wait to hear from them. If they don't respond in 72 hours, you have to do it again. So I just wanted to clarify that with people that if they think they do it once, that's all they have to do it, but they don't. They have to do it 3 times.
So it's like in court. Once you've said it 3 times, then you walk out.
Then, you never have to go back to court anyway with the UCC and the declaration. All you have to do is file it 3 times with them, and within 72 hours each time. And if they don't come back at you, then you can foreclose on them.
Now, Lois, if you mistime that, if you come back, say, 90 hours or 120 hours later and refile, is that significant? Or is it just more than 72 hours?
I think it has to be 72 hours, but that would be a question that you probably want to pose to Heather. That's my daughter, Heather Ann Tucci-Jarraf.
Yes, indeed.
So hey guys, this is Brian. I have a quick response to that to you, Lois, because I was speaking to a woman by the name of Angelina on Skype last night, and she's been trying to fight this traffic ticket using very, obviously not the UCC docs that have only recently come out over the course of the last month or so, but through her own channels, she helps people fight against foreclosures and what have you. And the thing is she's going through what she believes to be all the proper procedures, but the whole thing is getting sandbagged because she's just one person, and there's nobody there to enforce the law on the people that are breaking it. So the big issue here, and I know that it's going to be the main issue coming up for a lot of the people that are going to be calling in, is where does the enforcement come? And Lisa, I know you brought this up in the chat room recently. I just got done watching the movie V for Vendetta. I'm assuming that probably most of the people on the call have watched that movie, and the significance and the parallels to real life that are going on between that movie and what's happening right now in our reality are so significant. And I had an aha moment. At the end of the movie, the finale, all the guys come out in masks, and it's all the citizens that are standing up to fight for their rights and fight for their freedom. They made the comment at the beginning of the movie, people shouldn't fear their governments, the government should fear the people. And when one person tries to do this on their own, there's a really good likelihood that they're not going to be taken seriously. There's not going to be anybody there to enforce it. But when groups or masses of people start to do the same thing, I imagine, 100 people on the steps of a courthouse, fighting against the court systems, and that kind of thing will get media attention. All of a sudden, the people that are breaking the rules are put in a position where they have to succumb to the reality that what they're doing is wrong, and now all of a sudden, because they're in the spotlight, they have to address it. Without that, you could probably do this 72-hour rebuttal 3 times in a row and do it completely by the book, but there's a very good chance and likelihood it's not going to get a whole lot of attention.
Well, according to Heather, then it goes to another entity, and the other entity forecloses on everybody else. So that you'd have to clear up with Heather. So, I mean, evidently, like I said, I'm not sure who the other entity is.
Mm.
When it came to enforcement, I actually quote Heather, because I couldn't put it any better. We are doing the mechanics of enforcement now. The one people's part in this enforcement is to please do keep consciously choosing to be and do. That has more effect than you know. That is one of the vital keys to the mechanics of enforcement that is being done now. Full context and knowing of the mechanics of the enforcement shall be visible after it is done. Similar to the same template the public trust did in the foreclosure, we told you after the mechanics were done. So I think people are, and this is, I mean, again, this goes back to actually what our other radio show is all about, the collective consciousness, the collective imagination. When you're being called to action to do and be, we need to, I think, fully understand the power that we have as individuals within our own imagination. And that is the doing we can do. And that is the being that we can be, is envisioning this and seeing it and imagining it and through that creating it, the outcome that we want. Don't underestimate the power of that, because enough of us have done that individually and collectively, consciously and subconsciously leading up to this point that has allowed this to manifest in the way it has right here, right now at the end of 2012. We all wanted so desperately to be free and for change, and we projected that into the collective, and we called it in, and this is what we've got. So don't underestimate it. That is a doing and a being that is so powerful.
And I would have to say that the act of sending paperwork to them is an energetic transfer as well as a paper transfer, and it's a big sign to them that we know what the game is and that time's up. And the more paper they get, the bigger the message they'll get. Doing that and being that is probably going to amplify that energy, and that's what we need to get it over the line, because I think enforcement will roll out when this goes public. I'm not sure we'll get a lot of satisfaction because the system will try to ignore it until it just can't.
And that I think, was that Bob?
Yeah. Well, no, that was Chris.
Bob, Chris. I think this is Brian. I think that's really it. You know, I think when Heather wrote that comment, the lines, what I got the sense of reading between the lines is that does everybody remember? I don't know if anybody, especially Dee, when you were writing on your blog, and a lot of the Intel people were all in silence, and you know there wasn't a whole lot of information going out because everybody was supposed to be real tight-lipped, and it was like there was no updates and no updates and no updates. Well, the One People's Public Trust, that they were the driving force that was behind what was going on during that silence, and right now they're doing the same thing. And even myself and Dee and Lisa and some of the others that are in constant communication with Heather, gosh, it seems like 24 hours a day over the course of the last couple of weeks. We don't even know exactly what's going on. If we did, things would probably make a whole lot more sense for us individually, and you know we'd be able to share what we could. Heather's very transparent. Everything, for the most part, that she shares with us, we share on these shows, and you know the lid has been blown off this whole thing. But what happened then is the same thing that's happening now. There's something big. I mean, astronomically big that's going on behind the scenes right now that's getting ready to explode that is going to create an environment to where, this is my belief, where I think the shadows and the remnants of these systems that are still there to enforce these illegalities, like the courts and the law enforcement and so on and so forth, the plug is going to be pulled from the socket. And and everything is, this light is going to get shined into the darkest shadows, to where it all just comes out, and that's I think the tipping point that we've all been waiting for. And by all means, I don't think that anybody that we should stop doing and being and creating this amazing energy, and everyone, gosh, a website's coming up in various countries all over the world for One People's Public Trust and what they're doing. I mean, it's beautiful. The energy that is being created is awesome, but I truly believe that there's going to be a time here in the very near future where we're not even going to need these documents. You know, people aren't going to have to go in and fight anymore, because the systems that they're fighting against, the remnants of those systems aren't going to be able to hold themselves up on the house of cards that they're stacked on right now.
Yeah, I mean, Heather said in the very beginning that there are no forms to fill in. I don't believe we have to do any paperwork ourselves. She also said recently that the beast is starving. And what we're seeing, with the fear-mongering that's going on right now too, is the death throes of this beast. And someone else gave a beautiful analogy on one of the shows I was on last week, I can't even remember, about the vine. You know, a building being covered in a vine, the roots have been pulled out. It takes a while for the leaves and the rest of the vine to die off. And our role, I think, everybody's role, when I say our role, all of us, is to help spread the word, educate people, get it to the point where even those within the system cannot avoid it, because they've all got, I mean, everybody knows somebody who knows a cop or has one in the family, or a judge or a lawyer, or, you know, make sure they get this information, make sure it gets to them as well, and just keep spreading the word.
Also, I'd like to point out one other thing, too, is that there is a site up there that's called Individual Solution Society and the People's Trust, and they're trying to get donations. And what I'd like everybody to know is that the People's Trust doesn't ask for donations. They don't want any money. Everything is free to the people. So if you ever go to that site or you see somebody asking for money, don't do it. It's not the People's Trust.
Yes.
I'd like this.
Excellent. Guys, just if I could just grab a caller who's been waiting a long time now, please. Sorry, hold your thoughts. Caller with the number 707, please. Are you there? Hello, caller 707.
Hello?
Yes?
Oh, God. Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
I just want to ask you to define what the OPPT and the People's Trust is for the layperson, please.
Who'd like to take that?
I can take that if you. Okay, I'll have a go at that. Okay, the People's Trust are a group of very skilled lawyers who, inside the system some years back, decided to take a stand and use the system against itself to correct the injustices they saw as being against humanity. And they set about, in fact, I'll take this opportunity to read one paragraph out of the Paradigm Report that resulted from their initial investigations, and it reads like this. The private money for public use banking system is the constant forum denominator and prime of all crimes against humanity, sovereigns, contract and commerce, including but not limited to breach of peace, trespass, involuntary servitude, illegal fraud, coercion, force, theft, and deceptive practices and acts. And they decided to turn the system on itself, and they did a series of very complex filings where they resumed the public trust that was created in the original Constitution of the United States. They rolled into it everybody in the planet. They created an action where they defined the defendant as the debtor, and they rolled into that entity the entire system, the banking system. They accused the banking system of, they accused the entire system of crimes against humanity. Then they asked them to rebut, which they did not, and then they foreclosed and shut down the whole lot. At the same time, they created the basic structure for another completely different type of governance called a CVAC, which is a very well constructed entity, certainly from my point of view, in my opinion. So from our point of view, what is the People's Public Trust? It's the public trust itself consists of us, every person on the planet, and the planet, the creator. Okay, and included in the planet, in the assets of the planet, are those things which we consider of value, which at this stage is gold and silver, which has been bound, its value has been bound to the trust. So the People's Public Trust is everybody on this planet, every single person, no one left out, no borders, no governments, no corporations. All of what we consider to be the valuable assets of the planet, all the gold and silver, bound up and divided amongst us equally in equity for our use, and the planet itself, which is a caretaker of us and we of it, and source. And that's the public trust.
I love that. Thank you. I needed to know. I've been watching and listening, and so thank you for that. Perfect.
Don't be distracted by all of the action that they took to shut the system down. That was simply the clearing of the playing field to allow us to move to the next level, and it's an amazing opportunity for everybody equally.
I believe in this. I do. I love you all, and thank you.
Welcome.
Thanks,
you.
caller. Yep.
Thank
you very much. And we do have another caller, please, if you don't mind, friends. 239 is the area code. Caller, are you there?
Yes,
239.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How are you all doing? You guys are doing a wonderful job. I'm so proud of you. Just a comment about the UCC documents. It's something that I've been thinking about and something that I think would be a benefit if we could figure out how to get it done is to create a webinar that could teach folks that are in the know or that are involved in what's going on now, that are following the sites and following the actions and that kind of thing, teaching them how to utilize the UCC documents and then letting them go out and then, in turn, showing other people how to do it, and let's just get this rolling. Is that a possibility?
Can I jump in here for a second? This is Dee.
Please.
I was just going to say, we have had some of the most incredible people come forward in the last few weeks. People who are being and doing and have taken it upon themselves, who are in Canada and the States, putting together templates to be able to file the documents for people to complete instructions on how to fill things out. Someone has built a forum so that anyone who is filing UCC documents can get together with everyone else and they can discuss it and they can help each other out. There is just tons and tons of people kind of coming forward and saying, okay, well, what can we do? Let's go. I'm going to be and I'm going to do, and this is what I'm going to do. So
hey, Dee, talk about what Hope is putting together also.
Oh, that's phenomenal. If you have not had a chance to read it yet, Hope Girl 2012 has put out the business plan. It is phenomenal. I posted it on RTS last night. I don't have the link handy, so me trying to read it out to you isn't going to help. If you go to Hope Girl, her site, read the business plan. It is a piece of artwork written in the new paradigm of how business should be in the new paradigm. It really is quite brilliant.
Let me give her URL so people can go on there. It's hopegirl2012.wordpress.com, and the business plan is the FTW, which is the Fix the World Organization Business Plan. I'm only 5 pages into this thing, but it's beautiful. I mean, everybody asks, what's business going to be like in the new age, or when we get into this new paradigm? Hope does a beautiful job of painting a real beautiful picture with a lot of research and a lot of hours and a lot of people that have been involved in this from countries all around the world, and it's something to get very excited about. So if you haven't seen it, definitely go on her blog and check it out.
Yeah. Well, one thing I've actually read that through, Brian, and yes, it's a great piece, and it'll get people really thinking about new options. And one of the things that occurred to me while I was reading it is it's somewhat written with the concept that the old system will be running alongside the new system, and would ultimately it kind of leaves out the people's trust effect, if you like, of sweeping the playing field clear. And if we do get that effect, if that goes public and that does happen, what she has written about, Hope Girl, will be far easier than she thinks.
I think so too.
Yeah, because she's sort of written it in the, and I'll just put this thought in people's heads. She's somewhat written it from the thought of just the sheer weight of people in some areas of the corporate world wanting to go a different direction would ultimately eventually take us there, and that's the way I thought it would happen, and I thought it might take 10 or 20 years. But what I think will happen is when we get the release of absolute data, that you will find not just companies but entire sectors of industry. It won't just be one car company. All the car companies, some of them might just disappear because there's no reason for them to exist anymore. But what you'll get are the passionate people in that industry immediately being drawn to one another when they realise the opportunity they've got, and they'll reform entire industries in a very short period of time. I think that's a possibility, and that is just such an exciting thought. And I just wanted to put it out there because the one of the things she talks a lot about in her document is offering training and guidance and so forth. And what we have to bear in mind is that inside these industries, they have all the stuff they need to have. All they've got to do is change their minds and make a decision. And the passionate ones will do that, and the ones who are just working it as a job will go off and do something else. And I think the effect would be like a nuclear reaction where energy spreads to molecules around it, and the whole thing just goes nuclear. I think it could be extraordinary what we'll see happen.
Chris?
Yes?
Hope is in the queue right now.
Yep. I'm aware of that. Let's pull Hope in then, please. That's 810, Hope. Are you there, Hope? Not getting her. 810, I believe. Yeah. Okay. No, we're having a bit of a problem getting Hope. We'll look out for her. Continue, please.
Yes. Love to have a chat.
There's one thing I wanted to speak to, and that's about the beingness. Beingness, and I'm going to give a little how important this is, because I think a lot of times people look at the documents and they hear these comments and they think, well, this is in 5D and I don't understand it. I'm going to give you a little 5D lesson, short but sweet. Everything that you do, you are in constant contact with that one source. Let's call it space. Space is everywhere. It's inside you, outside you, and it is one thing. It is energy in perfect balance. Anything that you do, and that includes thinking, feeling, is going out into the space and is instantly known by the entire space, just as if someone were to touch your toe, your whole body knows that your toe has been touched instantly. Everything that you are thinking, everything that you are feeling is information. It is forming the space. Everything that you are being is an act of creation. So when we ask you, what is it that you choose to be, we make a choice on what we choose to create. And we do that by our predominance, whatever is the predominant energy that's coming from us. And if you are still in fear, if you are still in that slavery mentality, if you are still bowing to an authority, well, you are creating more of that reality. Every person that has come in contact with the One People's Trust have been in an act of creating it. Otherwise, you would just not get this information. You wouldn't be listening. You wouldn't be tuning in. It would never occur to you. And there are many people that are in that category right now. So this, in my opinion, is probably the most important thing that's happening on the planet right now. So why isn't it worldwide news? Because not everyone is being free. And if you are listening to this and you've come in contact, you are one of the creators also of this One People's Trust. So it's important for all of us to make those choices in what it is that we're creating, because what it is that we're creating is what we're choosing to be.
Yep, beautiful. Well said, Bob. Thanks for that. It's the I am, and we are part of the I am. For how can we diminish ourselves and separate ourselves from all that is? So I am is the name. And I do recall that that's one of the things that Heather stressed, to be the I am. We don't have names. These are corporate persons. They've reduced us to corporations so that because by law individuals cannot be taxed, but corporations can. So if you have a name and you go around, declaring that name, well, it's going to be taxed. Because it's a person. It's personal property, which belongs to, the military-industrial complex. So I am is the way to be. So do we have hope there? I wonder. Okay, well, we're still waiting for hope. So anybody that would like to pitch in, please.
Well, I can address another question. I can address another question that comes up frequently about the CVACs. People wanting to get the CVAC branches activated. I know I'm getting emails from all around the world saying, I'm from Italy, I'm from South Africa, I'm from Croatia, I'm from Belgium. How do we get this CVAC activated? And I got a response from Heather this morning on this, which is CVAC and all branches definitely can be used by the one people. However, absolute data, not one piece missing, is coming out now. Do the people want to make an interim decision or an informed conscious choice based on the absolute data? Do they want to make the conscious choice to not be responsible and be governed, or do they want to make the conscious choice to be responsible and practice self-governance? For now, the CVAC and the branches are, all branches reserved, are holding the powers that were in their place so that the one people of this planet have the opportunity to receive all the data and make an informed choice by their free will, each one. So it's a matter, what I took from that is that it's just a matter of, like she said, that at the moment the current structure is being held in place so that we can all catch up and catch our breath and allow ourselves to receive as much data as we need in order to make an informed choice about where we go next. Let's not rush into anything. Let's allow ourselves to sort of sit and be within ourselves and see what's next. Not everybody is ready for self-governance. And I think we need to get to the point where everybody is, to some degree at least. Does that make sense?
Makes sense to me. I'd like to throw something else in here too, is some information that came to me a couple of days ago because I asked for it to come to me, and it came to me. And it came to me in the form of one of the students of Peter Shelton and Michael Monk. And he essentially was passing on a message to me, and it was this, that there's going to be massive changes, that one of the issues is going to be a great fear reaction from the general population because of this. Just the magnitude of the information is going to be overwhelming for them, and I think this is playing into what Heather's trying to say to us is that it may be premature to jump in and activate CVACs right now because of this information event which appears to be imminent, and that we need, we can't act unilaterally at this point. There really has to be as many people as possible involved in the decision to activate a CVAC and do it properly, because yes, you could start one, but then you've really got to do something with it instantly. There's a lot of responsibility there, and it's not to be taken lightly. And his message to me was that the fear reaction is best dealt with by going to that empathic place to understand that we're all going through different versions of the same process, and some of us are more ahead than others. And as Lisa just said, many people out there aren't ready for this information. They have no idea any of this is going on. They haven't got a clue. That cuts across society. That cuts right across everybody around us. And like as we may, to really jump in, should we be waiting until everyone's had a chance to at least become aware of what's going on? And the other message he had from me, which I'll just throw in briefly, is that the light workers, that is the people who are actively pursuing this and all the endeavours where they're trying to help the planet energetically, spiritually, are the most powerful group on the planet, and that they are pulling in all sorts of different directions, and the big message to them is we all have to pull together, and the sooner you do it, the sooner we'll get over the line, that we really have to start looking in the same direction and moving forward as one.
There's a tendency in the light worker community. Sorry, go ahead, Brian. Or was that Bob?
No, that was me, Bob.
Oh.
There's one thing I just wanted to put out there to everyone who's not on board with the One People's Trust, because I see a lot of myopic vision happening. Please look over here. Pay attention to what's going on around you. Everyone has their own projects and things and their own aims. But one of the things I love about the One People's Trust is it puts everything back to equity, so that there's no leaders, there's no one that is placed in ahead of another. And so anyone who resists an idea like that has an agenda. And I'm sorry to say that, but it will show what your true intentions are when you are faced with pure intent. And that's one of the things that I think we really need to have is pure intent. Go on, Lisa.
Yeah, but hey, Bob. This is Brian. I agree with you. I think that the problem is there's a lot of people. I mean, the 7 billion people in the world. I couldn't tell you the amount that have heard of the One People's Public Trust, and then the ratio of the people that have heard of it that have bought into the truth. But I'm of the belief that over the course of the last 10 years, especially since 2011, and even most recently the last year, is that things have been happening in the world to slowly wake people up. I mean, I think that we could all agree on that on this call. But there's so many people that exist that anytime that it's one of the cabal's biggest defense mechanisms. It's what they use against us, which is the terminology. It's an urban legend, or you're a conspiracy theorist. I mean, they use the terms like that against us to keep the masses in the dark. And without something coming out into the open and shaking people up, because there's going to be a lot of people that instantly go into fear mode, but there's also a lot of people out there that they've seen and heard things that may or may not be true in their mind, that they know something funny is going on. And I think that's when we get to the point where absolute data comes out. I mean, we've talked about it with Heather in conversations before. I mean, there has to be a whole re-education process that comes out to educate people of the truth of their existence. And I think that one of the big phases that have been taking place in the background that have caused the view of all this to, there's delays, and this is why this is being delayed, and that's why that's being delayed. I think that what's happening behind the scenes is trying to get to the point where they can minimize the amount of that fear to the highest degree possible. But it's never going to be perfect, because there's a lot of people that have been living in the dark that this is going to shake and rattle them. But it's going to be the kind of people that are on this call and the kind of people that are listening to this call and the people that are open-minded that are going to have to be there to hold space for these folks. Because I think 5 years ago, if we were talking about this now, yes, there would not be enough people ready for this to happen, but it's got to come. It's going to shake some people, but for us to think that over the course of the next coming weeks or months, people are going to be more ready based on, whatever it is that comes out in mainstream media, we might be waiting forever. So, I'm kind of the opinion, let's rip the Band-Aid off and and deal with it.
I agree with you. And
I agree with you too.
The nature of the information is such that you can't talk about one without it leading into everything else. So you're talking about technology, you're talking about the existence of the galactic community, you're talking about the very nature of who we are. And
our true history.
Our true history,
correct.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Correct. And it's so there's so many layers to it. You throw religion in there, and all of a sudden you have a real huge issue, because there's many people in this world that follow very organized religion, and that's probably going to be the one that is most difficult for people to cope with. But it's ultimately truth that's going to set people free. And when people realize that the nature of our existence is so beyond any spiritual concept that they could ever imagine or fathom, that the beauty that is ultimately going to come from this truth is going to be something that is really, no matter how awake you think you are right now, it's impossible to imagine because it's the nature of who we are.
One of the messages that led from one of the things that led from my discussion with Julian Wells, the student, was that the reason for his message about the light workers was that they need to unite to remove the fear. Okay, because energetically in the background, they're capable of doing that. Just in the way that mass meditations have a dramatic effect on many things, they will have a dramatic effect on the level of fear if they act as one during the period of time where absolute data is being released. And if anyone's, light workers out there listening to this is really, really important because we can move forward much more quickly and smoothly if we remove the fear.
Santos, I think we have Heather on the line with D.
Heather's on the line.
Okay.
Heather, can we hear you? Unmute your mic.
Wow, Dee, I can't believe you talked to Heather. Do you guys have your own private Skype going on?
I've conferenced her in, but we all know everyone. I'm really sorry.
Can you hear me now?
There she is.
There's Heather.
Hi.
Hey,
Hello.
Heather. We can hear you.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Take your little butt to sleep.
I feel like a Verizon commercial.
Hey, we're going to probably have to do like we usually do when we talk to Heather, is just all put our phones on mute and let her talk.
Yeah. Please, everybody mute because there's... Can everybody mute because there's a lot of background noise, guys, and just leave it over to Heather. Thanks, Heather. You've got the mic.
Okay. A lot of people ask a lot of questions regarding what has been done and all of this. We can sit down and go down memory lane, but right now there's a lot of doing that still has to go on. So, as far as the fear, just look at the templates that they use. If you can get rid of ego and greed, then you can get rid of the fear. If you get rid of ego and greed, you'll come together. And I don't care if that's light workers, communities, nations, dropping their borders, whatever it may be. Divide and conquer is their template. So unify and do together should be the opposite one, right?
Yeah.
And, to clarify, I'm the only one that has a legal background out of the three of us. Caleb basically describes himself as a nerd, and Randall is, he's older than us, so he has a lot of experience from, the 25 years ago episodes where it was attempted before. So in this particular regard, we're very diverse, but at the same time, we work very well together because we're all there for the same goal. There's no ego, there's no greed, and we unify. There's nothing to fear, and if I went through the data that we work on, it would take so much time that you would actually hinder and delay this. So at this point, when I get asked about enforcement, we're just going in there to do the enforcement. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can. Look,
yes.
just hang on for a minute, Heather, please, because we still have some background noise too. We'll sort this out in a minute. Are you speaking on through Dee's line?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Okay. So for the board, yep. We just need to fix this. We need to fix this at the board, and so the board can mute all the other lines out. So it's Dee's line. What's the area code there, Dee?
519, I think.
Yeah, okay, so your number was 519. Okay, so we're going through 519. That's the area code. I'm just looking for it. This is a bit of a complex process. Please bear with me. No, it's not 519, D.
I'm sorry, hon. I'm calling on Skype, so I have no idea what number it could be.
Oh, okay, 517. Okay, alrighty, we'll fix this now, and we should have a better transmission from Heather. Sorry about that, Heather, just a technical problem. So continue on, and we are hearing you loud and clear. It's just a lot of background noise, and I think it should be better from now on. Thank you.
Sorry, I'm not a techie. I wish I was.
Yeah. Okay, so and if
I guess what I would like to know is, how can I help you on this call? What is the main issue that you have or that you're seeing right now from your listeners?
Okay, guys, would anybody like to address that? What questions can? Yeah.
Well, I just know that the questions that are on the list and the ones that keep coming to me are for people who are already in the middle of a situation, whether it's with, a police situation, a court, foreclosure, maybe they're in the process of purchasing a property. They're dealing with the system already, and they want to know, they're facing prison, they're facing fines, they're facing foreclosures. What can they do? So how can we utilise this right here, right now, in a very real situation?
I know those aren't my kids. Mine are in bed.
They're not mine either. I'm putting that out there.
Has to be somebody who's still on.
I don't have any kids.
No kids on my end either.
Okay.
You got anything that you can say towards that, Heather?
I think we've lost her. We may have even lost Dee.
Oh, yes, guys. Sorry, you muted me, so therefore you muted Heather. Go ahead, Heather.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. What I would say is this. You have a slavery system which has been foreclosed on, okay? And all those agents that are in that slavery system still don't even know what's going on. They take orders, they're following scripts. And it's important to remember that they are people too. Most of them are there for a paycheck. Most of them there to put food on the table and a roof over their head. So be as kind and as gentle as you can, but be as firm as you can too, as far as saying, this is who I be, this is my law, my common law principle, and now show me your sworn and verified identification, your authority to act, and what law you're operating under. I mean, that's what it comes down to. That is being, and it's asking them to do something to show who they be. I know that it is not the answer that people want to hear. They want to have the silver bullet, so to speak. But at the same time, I mean, we're undoing something that's been around for eons, not just 100 years.
Wonderful, very true. And of course, it takes a lot of consciousness and patience and perseverance. These guys have been working on perfecting their trusts and papal bulls. I mean, we can go back to 1302 with Pope Boniface, really, couldn't we? And say that one is the big one that no one has ever been able to trump until people's trust. Would you agree?
Yeah, well, that was kind of the key, was that going back to prime, going right back to source, was the only way to go back in and clear stuff out that is hidden or not seen. So, like, a lot of people have been sending me David Wynn Miller's stuff regarding quantum language and all that. Yeah, that's a huge part of it, and he brings out a lot of information that is true. You know, data that just hasn't been known for a long time, and only by those select few. Not even our U.S. Supreme Court, the purported U.S. Supreme Court, most of them didn't even know all that stuff. And there's a whole bunch more they don't know. So the only way to go in and make sure everything was back to prime, starting over, 0 points, was through the same system that they went in and basically enslaved everyone through. So there's no more hidden anything. Everything needs to be transparent. If something isn't transparent, there's a reason why. And I don't choose to partake in that. Everything I do is transparent. Everything Caleb, Randall, everything that I choose to do with others should be transparent. If it can't be, there's a reason behind it, and I have to start questioning what's the self-interest or special interest here that may be damaging others.
Yes, when everything is transparent and everyone is responsible, then there's no room for special interests. Okay.
Well, special interest is okay. Self-interest is okay, but not when it damages any other.
Exactly. And enslaves mankind in the process. So I've always said that the system works. It's just that they don't tell you how it works. Number one, the first evil, and the second one is that they've run a system in debt rather than in credit, which is impossible to experience any kind of freedom. So there's two negatives that have already been repaired, really, with this.
Yeah, I mean, well, everything's been repaired. Now it's just a matter of being, and, you know, I was told all the way through that there were certain folks that were not going to give up the powers. I think right now what would be a hard concept for everyone to grasp is that the powers that were on this planet, they're really not the powers that were. They're brokers. They really are just brokers, similar or akin to the brokers in a financial trade aspect. There are other wizards and big dogs behind that curtain. Otherwise, your powers that were would have shut down already. So, you know, that's the part, and that's why I say enforcement. I'd rather just say here's how the enforcement went when it's all done, because there's so many aspects that people don't have the data for, and the data is mind-blowing to the point where you're spending all your energy trying to explain things to everyone and hold their hands. It's better just to go in and do it.
Exactly. Anyone questions, please jump in.
No, we all just like to sit back and listen to Heather talk.
And we have such a clear line at the moment, I'm just amazed.
Yeah, the line's clear. It's beautiful.
Heather, one of the things I just wanted to express to you is the gratitude. And I hope that you're receiving all of that energy, because I know that you've been... I don't know when you sleep, or if you sleep, but... I just wanted to express the gratitude that you and the other trustees, Caleb and I forget the other one, Randolph, sorry, have done, and we are very, very appreciative of it.
Actually, Heather, I'd like it if you could address the gold exercise that was put out as well, because a lot of people on this show may not have come across it and may not understand the importance and impact of it. Is there anything you can address there in regards to that gold exercise?
Sure. Well, first I'd like to say thank you for the gratitude, most lovingly, and I return it in kind for all the being and doing that everyone is out there doing. It has an effect and an impact that you are not able to put in absolute context just yet, but you will. The gold exercise. Okay. Gold exercise, basically, if you look around this planet, you may notice that things are alive. We don't really see them. It's just sort of like driving to work, every day. You don't pay attention. You just sort of get from your house to your job, and you don't really on the way. Well, we sort of have gone into life that way. And it's not much of a life. So if you just stop for a minute and look what's around you and recognize that there is energy. Everything is energy. If you aren't able to recognize energy in something else, is it not foreclosing or affecting the energy that you are? I mean, these are questions that we discuss all the time in the public trust, is a recognition. And acknowledgement, because in others, you're acknowledging yourself, and you're showing people how you want to be treated. So when we go through this gold exercise, animate less than any other energy, and a lot of people don't know about Saint Germain's trust and the particular gold that purportedly is inside, and it's a living gold, like a biological gold, and it operates at a certain frequency. This is data that isn't out there except for Pentagon and things like that. So, instead of just bringing the data out and talking about it, I wanted to go through an exercise where people could discern on their own energy of water. A great commenter on Dee's blog, when we did the gold exercise, commented, hey, I take a glass of water every morning. I look down at the water and I say, hey, gorgeous. And they give the energy to the water. They recognize and acknowledge the water. And there's an energy there. So it's just a matter of, becoming aware, being conscious. Start looking around you and seeing the animals, the plants, the energy fields around everything. Because that's all that exists is energy. And there's different frequencies and vibrations of it. So we keep hearing St. Germain's Trust will be releasing this or that until, the collective consciousness at a certain point. Well, it's a matter of frequency and vibration. So basically what's happening right now behind the scenes is, if I have information that tells you, okay, this is how you do it, here's the manual, raise your vibration and your frequency to that of the living gold that's in trust, in quote unquote, in St. Germain's trust. If you raise your vibration, then the gold is actually released automatically. But that's not data that they're giving out. And in fact, purportedly St. Germain works very closely with the Pentagon, and the Pentagon is an example. So it kind of makes one wonder, based on data, if that data is correct, or if it's data at all, then this dumbing down seems deceptive in helping reach enlightenment or higher frequencies. These are things that people need to consider. That's why I'm saying absolute data allows you to discern from within what resonates. Your guys' tools of resonance are operating at a much more sensitive frequency right now. So contrasts are really obvious. I don't spend the energy to answer emails or public statements by Drake or Casper or any of these other guys, because right now my energy needs to be paid to doing. So does Caleb's and Randall's and everyone else's. I don't want to talk. I'd rather just do. So I do enjoy conversations of how do we do? How do we create? How do we co-create? That's exciting. Talking about the old stuff, that's not exciting. So I hope that sort of explains the gold exercise. It was to bring in awareness, but done from within, not telling you, here's this, here's that. I really enjoyed watching people do the gold exercise. I mean, the comments were just like, yeah, I got it. And you know what? It's living, it's dancing, it's breathing. And if you look at gold in such a way that it's energy and no less than you, all of a sudden you kind of start to question, perhaps, well, when I say my gold, our gold, am I not enslaving an energy just like I've been enslaved and I'm energy? So these are things to consciously think of. It's all about energy. That's the prime. And that's where we're working towards right now. Did I satisfactorily answer your question?
You did for me.
Absolutely wonderful.
For now, for the moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Definitely.
All right.
Heather,
look,
I do have one question, Santos, for Heather. It's Chris here. Heather, how are you? Good to be here.
Hi, Chris.
Hi. I just self-muted. Sorry about that. Would it be true to say that we will know enforcement has taken place when we observe absolute data around us?
Actually, you're already seeing enforcement. You just aren't able to put it into absolute context. So you're seeing signs of enforcement now, but you're just not recognizing them as enforcement.
Yes, there's all sorts of little bits and pieces going on that around us that I can see might be part of it. But, like everybody who's observing things around us going on at the moment, very difficult to tell what's real and what's not. But I don't think we'll miss it when it really kicks in.
Yeah, just be open to the data. Call the data into you, and data will come out. Once you have all the data on the table, that's why I say take your time. There's no rush here, except for, we're moving as fast as we can here, but just be aware. Look at the data, consider it, discuss it. The more aware you guys are, the more being that you be, and the more doing that you do, visible all this data comes. The people inside feel more comfortable bringing it out because you guys are paying attention and actually you're doing, which means there's more of a safe harbor for them to bring out that information. And there'll be disinformation, yes, but that's the beauty about contrast, is that you guys are so, when I say you, I mean all of us, we're much more aware now than we were 6 months ago, 5 years ago, oh my gosh, 100 years ago. So trust in you, trust in the tools that are within you. They were deposited in there by Source. And as far as I can see, Source doesn't make mistakes.
Beautiful. Exactly. Never a mistake. We do have another couple of callers. I'll go to a caller just quickly. 561 caller. Caller, are you there with the number 561, please?
Yes. This is Holly from Florida. I have a question from a legal perspective, wanting to know Heather's thoughts My understanding is filing a UCC-1 with any Secretary of State within the United States of America is somehow ineffective. I can't speak intelligently as to why, but there's a smart group of people called Freedom Club USA who have determined that filing the UCC-1 through the Secretary of State creates an illegitimate or ineffective UCC-1. Somewhere amongst your materials or indirect materials, I read filing within the state of Washington with the Secretary of State still has integrity and is recognized all about. Does any of that make sense?
Yeah. Let's see here. David Wayne Miller, let me give you an example. First off, you gotta know what the UCC is. Okay, the UCC is a registry. And it's not just planetary with different branches all the way down to your state level. It's universal. It's a transferring system. And the UCC, there's international portals. Washington, D.C., for instance, is the international portal for United States courts. When you file in a state registry, it actually goes right up the line because it's just a branch of the international courts. And the international courts are just branches of the universal. So when someone tells you that the UCCs don't mean anything, I believe they're relying on data which has changed. And that data was the Queen, the purported Queen of England supposedly had the copyright on the UCC. The only problem was it was the people that paid for it. And so the UCC was actually registered as private property.
We are challenged by communications tonight. Yeah, Heather, we're challenged with the technology tonight because I'm not hearing you as clearly as I'd like, but if I understand you, that is inaccurate information henceforward. That filing the SOS.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
It's an inaccurate data. It used to be correct in the one sense. You had to be a bar member to be able to use it, utilize it, except for it got taken back to Prime, and it is now in private ownership of all the one people equally, which are the ones that paid for the whole system to begin with. So UCCs are absolutely applicable, and it's how their whole system, the slavery systems and the shadow governments all work. So anyone telling you that it's not like that, I would just go out and search for the data, question it. Why doesn't it apply? They may tell you it doesn't apply, but they won't tell you why. So ask them a further question. Take the questions back to Prime. Why doesn't it apply?
Understood. Thank you so much.
Not a problem.
Lovely. Thank you, caller. And we do have another one, 316. Caller with the number 316. Are you there?
I am here. Thank you. And Heather, infinite gratitude. Thank you so much. My question is one of ethics at this point. With this new information that I have, we are in the process of acquiring a new property. Ironically, and I see indications in the system of some underlying tremblings going on just because we're involved in the process. I do see strong indications, so I know that there's something going on. And thank you for that. However, at this point with this new information, I'm having a crisis of integrity. I don't see how we can go forward in the past system, and yet I'm not really clear on how to move forward in the new system, and am certainly willing to take a pause if that's what we need to do right now. And I'm looking for...
I had someone... Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I had someone with a similar question. They wanted to buy a piece of land, a home.
Yes.
And, my cousin was married to Peter Schiff. I don't know if you know who that is. He's Europac, Euro-Pacific Capital. He's always on CNN, Squawk Box, whatever. He claims to be the 1% of the 1%. And for years, he wouldn't allow her to buy a house. They could only rent. And I never understood it until I was going through the investigations and everything else, and all mortgages are fraud. There are no loans, not unless you can rub coins together, say how you sweated for them, and then hand them over to someone else for a promise to pay back. And so I'm sitting here now, we use the house as a test case, and right now we're just renting because I know that when this is all said and done, we can always all go out there, and the relationship with Earth is going to be much different because you realize that you're a co-custodian, you're a co-trustee, you're co-responsible for how this Earth is treated. So at that point, it's a matter of, okay, I want to build a house, I want to buy a house. So for me personally, and this is just my personal choice, we're just renting while we finish up what's going on. And then at that point, we'll make our decisions on how to proceed forward. I know we're resetting how that kind of a venture is done. It's going to be more responsible, and it's going to be more accurate. We had to take all the land titles back to Prime because they were all sitting there with the Vatican, and that was all over the world.
Do you have any vision or insight in
so does
how
that explain your question?
It does. It does, and even aside from the fact that we wanted to purchase a ranch and farm and bring it back to a self-sustaining system, that's beside the point. It's just in a matter of how to proceed, and I think I'm going to take the advice that you gave a little bit earlier and pause and listen. And rest assured that we will be guided as long as, ethics and purity is our intent. It's going to be all good. I'm grateful to be on this journey with all of you, and I'm so grateful this day has come.
Thank you so much for your energy. I can feel it. And look within. You have all the answers within you.
Thank you so very much. Thanks, guys. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you. All right, guys, any questions from amongst the panel, please? No? Okay,
Santos, I do have one that's sort of a follow-on from that question, really, which is there are currently properties, whether they're homes or commercial properties or whatever, that are sitting vacant and have been foreclosed on by the now foreclosed banks. Is there anything we can do to restore those right here, right now, and prevent more damage?
We filed the UCC securing all the property, all the land areas. I think that was the first part of August, end of July. A week after we did that, all of a sudden we were getting reports that the banks were stopping foreclosures, and the brokers, the high net worth brokers, were really upset because they couldn't figure out what was going on. And what I would say is this is Earth. We are all co-responsible for this Earth. If you see something that needs to be taken care of, you have that responsibility. I'll send out the UCC that specifically goes to the land and the airs and the seas. If you put yourself, register yourself as a co-custodian under your full personal responsibility and liability, then you are, now I wouldn't suggest going in and being rude, going in and being unkind, because in order for them to understand the contrast, if they're putting out hate, aggression, fear, then the opposite needs to be shown so they can make a choice. They can see the difference. And as far as the land and properties go, we're in the process of taking those physically back, repossessing all those, and making sure that they're out there. Basically, everyone on the planet will have an ownership in all the properties on the planet. It'll have an equal ownership, and it'll go on a digital exchange, and then people can actually do, that was the solution that we came up with in order to make sure that
Heather,
everyone had a free will choice and they had the opportunity to exercise.
Heather, can you repeat that last part? You kind of broke up, and I was really interested in hearing what you said.
That all the properties on the planet are going into a digital exchange.
Yes, that bit. We didn't hear that.
Yeah, all the properties are going to go into a digital exchange, and every person on the planet will own an equal share of each property that they can digitally exchange, swap out shares for other properties. So it'll be a free market where everyone has the opportunity to exercise their free will choice and choose what properties they actually want to live in, or maybe not. Maybe they just want to travel here, there. A lot of people haven't been able to travel most of their lives. So maybe people don't really want to have a one residence type of situation. Who knows? The point is making sure all that property is responsibly taken care of. Nobody's damaging the earth.
There's a lot of
tools that will come out.
Just to briefly go back over what you said earlier about when you said go in there with, be polite and be kind. Are you talking about going into the bank in question, or are you talking about court situation, or are you talking about the UCC when you say going in and be polite and kind with paperwork?
Well, not even just going in, just anything that presents itself to you at this present moment. Just be kind. Be graceful. Be in love and private system.
In all your dealings.
Yeah, in all your dealings, absolutely. And just to live that, to be that, and be responsible, and that will filter through in all of our dealings, no matter where they are. And look, we do have one more call. I want to take one more caller, and then that'll be it, because we'll be down to 20 minutes, and then I would just want everybody just to round off their thoughts, please. So, can we go to caller 901, please? Area code 901. Caller, are you there?
Hi there.
Hi.
Hello?
Hello.
Yes.
Please. Yep.
My name's Bill from Tennessee. How are you?
Very well, thanks.
I am interested in a follow-up with that ethics question. In other words, I think one of the things the young lady was getting at was, how do you go into a situation in the old system and knowing that you may end up being out of that contract almost as soon as you get into it? It almost seems like we're doing something wrong if we're going into it knowing that we're not going to end up having to pay, even though a loan may have never been created. It's just this mind thing, perhaps, in this transition. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Everyone has to make their own choice. You have data. Look at the data and see what resonates with you.
Right. Thank you. Yeah, I agree with that. And secondly, what would you do for the moment in a non-judicial state where foreclosures, they don't seem to be occurring as rapidly, but I think they're still occurring?
As far as non-judicial, the UCC process, just saying who you be, what your law is, what your standing is, and then going in and doing the 3501s. The judges, they'll all tell you, it's not a UCC, it doesn't apply and all this. They're told to do that. They're told to say that. The whole process that they do with the notice of sale, notice of default, notice of sale, all of that's run on the UCC. You just don't see it.
I see. Well, I'm in a unique position to be a counselor, but I kind of am certified by the old powers that be, and I try to tell homeowners to hang in there, buy themselves time, and without disclosing much more information than that, honestly. In my professional capacity, if it were a personal capacity, I'd say perhaps try this, but I can't make that decision for them and breach that subject, really, because it's almost too much for some people still at this point.
Yeah, it's Bill, right?
Yes.
Okay, Bill, everyone, I've been in a situation like you where you have a job and you basically are told to achieve certain goals. Mm-hmm. And some people are going to find in this whole new absolute data process that their particular positions or careers or jobs aren't resonating within them. Mm-hmm. And maybe they'll find that, hey, I really like it. All I can tell you is look at the data. You're looking for data and analyzing the data. There's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to go and make life-altering decisions until you feel them within. Then you make your choices. But nobody has to feel guilt during this period of time. We're all learning. We're all remembering. And we're all gathering data.
Absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate your answers, and I appreciate everything you've done. Thank you.
Thank you for your energy, Bill.
Take care.
Yeah, thank you, Bill. And we would all like to add to that and agree with that. We do appreciate very much, Heather, because most of the listeners, most of the panel know what it's like dealing with paperwork. It seems like an endless amount of paperwork has to be done to be a citizen of these corporations. It's just not even worth it for them. We are enslaved by papers, dead bits of paper that we give life to. So we do all very, very much appreciate this work. It must have taken hours and hours and hours of devotion and perseverance and concentration and the amount of time dedicated. So we will be the beneficiaries of that and all of our brothers on the planet. So panel, fire away. We have about 20 solid minutes. So any final thoughts? And also, what other resources do we have? We did have Hope, who was hopefully going to come back on, but someone mentioned that resource. What else do we have, etc.? So if you'd like to just shoot away. Anyone?
You know what I think our greatest resource is? It's us. It's everyone. It's every person on this planet. And yes, there is a vast majority of humanity right now is blithely sleeping on, not knowing what's going on at this moment. And I've talked about this on RTS several times, that those of us who are aware have, in my opinion, a responsibility, and that is to be the way showers and look out for these people and help these people. But as things start coming out and as understanding starts happening, that they aren't quite so shocked, that you can help them with all these little things, whether it's within your family and friends, whether it's within your community, whether it's just online. There's going to be a big job for all of us. Just being who we are and who we're supposed to be. Remembering, as Heather likes to say.
Beautiful. True too.
I'll dovetail on that real quick, guys. This is Brian. But real quick though, the question was, where else can people go to get some more information and more resources? KP Kuila Pele put out a post today that might be helpful. It was either today or yesterday. His blog is KAUILAPELE.wordpress.com. The post is called a few OPPT notes, contact info, discussion groups, and updated documents. There's a lot of resources there for people to connect with each other and to gather information and stories and share with others that are in need of assistance. I actually Skyped with Hope a couple minutes ago. She was on her way out the door, apologized for not being able to be here to go to a dinner reservation, but she said she'd make herself available for the next call and most likely will be available for Lisa's call on Tuesday. My kind of closing thought, I mean, great call. I agree with everything that Dee just said, and the energy that we're creating. I mean, every day is an adventure with all this. It really is. I mean, I wake up and I check my Skype every morning. I mean, I wake up at 5 a.m. and there's like 150 some odd Skype posts in our little Skype room that I have to catch up on through the middle of the night. So I will confirm and verify Heather does not sleep. She might get rest. There's a difference between getting rest and sleeping, but this is a journey. I mean, I never thought the rabbit hole went so deep, and every day I fall 1,000 feet deeper into the awareness and into the truth of what's really going on. And for me, there really isn't a whole heck of a lot of fear in it anymore. It's exciting, and it's like being on a roller coaster ride. And when you're going up the roller coaster, and it's kind of it's getting up to the point where you're at the peak and you're at the summit and you're about to take that turn and the gravity just yanks that thing down and you're going through all sorts of loop-de-loops. I think that's where we are right now. And I think that once the roller coaster goes over that tipping point, it's just going to be a free fall. And, that brings fear for some, excitement and anxiety for others. It really depends on the type of person you are, but no matter which way you slice it, it's an adventure that we all signed up for. And I'm so glad and grateful to be here and to have such amazing people to share it with. And it's only going to get more fun from here, as far as I have to say.
Brian, can you share with folks what you do and your website, please?
What do I do? Oh gosh, I'm a computer and internet junkie these days. I'm glued to Dee's blog and AK's blog. I'm attached to American Kabuki's blog, americankabuki.blogspot.com. Really, I'm just a reader of all this stuff, and I was kind of introduced to the scene with a consultation I did with Poof a couple months back that got put onto American Kabuki's blog and went viral. I think I got like 8,000 or 9,000 hits in 4 or 5 hours. And so I was able to get close with American Kabuki, and because of where it really all started for me was when Heather sent Kuila Pele and American Kabuki an email talking about the significance that consultation I did that went out had on exposing the guy General Wong out of Hong Kong and his agenda that he had as far as the power and the money goes. I don't really know the whole story. Heather, it's what Heather shared with us, but I've been kind of in it ever since then. As far as my background, I'm just a guy with an adrenaline. I'm an adrenaline junkie as it comes to as it pertains to watching the adventure unfold every day. So that's kind of a little bit about me. I'd be more than happy to share more on another call, but I know we're limited for time here on this one. So I greatly appreciate the opportunity for bringing me on here and what everybody is doing. And Santos and everybody else on the call, it's been an honor to speak with you. I'd be more than happy to come on again anytime in the future.
Beautiful. Thanks, Brian. Anyone else from the panel? Otherwise, we'll just leave it over to Heather for the last 5 or 6 minutes. And
I was going to say something, but I'd rather hear from Heather, so I'll leave it with that.
I'm actually liking all the accents, so I'd rather just do that.
Yeah, I'm in the rather listen to other people mood today too.
Well, if I was going to say anything, it would just be honestly to reiterate a lot of what Brian just said. You know, my mornings now consist of getting a really strong coffee because I know I'm going to need it, sitting down and catching up on, you know, the Skype group chat that Heather's in, and Lois and AK and Brian and myself and Hope Girl, and having, you know, trying to pick my brains up off the floor. And it's an exciting way to start the day, I have to say. And I've considered myself a bit of a veteran down certain parts of this rabbit hole, you know, 20, 25 years for a lot of it. And I feel so reinvigorated and enthusiastic and open because, I mean, I've always had that mindset that I don't know what I don't know, but what I don't know has just exploded. And it's exciting again, you know, and every day there is more to learn, not just about the rabbit hole and the way the world really works, but about me and about who I am and what I am and the power that I have within me. That's what's been the reinvigorating aspect of it. And without the boundaries, without the external governance, you know, how rethinking, revisiting, reassessing how I self-govern and what that means to me and where my integrity is, and just having to re-ask myself and reevaluate all of those things. That's the process I'm kind of going through now more than anything. It's a very personal one, and yet I know that it's expressing itself. The way I'm expressing itself is changing, and the impact that I'm having in my environment is changing. So it's a whole new journey yet again, and it's brilliant. I'm having fun.
That's the point, and I think you're right. It is about you, and it's about everyone. I love the idea when Dee and those guys made it about the public trust Skype room or whatever it is. I just have so much fun, and believe me, there were a lot of periods I didn't have fun. So to sit and talk with you guys, I'm learning as much from all of you as maybe from me, but the point is interacting. If you can interact with each other, that's doing, and that's something we haven't done in a long, long time. So I thank you guys and all the energy that you give me, I give back in kind.
Yeah.
Did we lose everyone?
Heather is kind of there, sort of there.
And I'm here, kind of.
Yeah. I'm so grateful to even be in contact with other like minds. For so long, it's been a lonely journey, and to be able to every morning, just like Lisa said, I wake up in the morning and I'm just like, what's changed? How has the world changed since I've been asleep? And it almost never disappoints me. There's always something new. There's always more information, and many of us are experiencing profound changes in our beingness, in the way that we look at ourselves. This is, and it's a choice. It's a simple choice. You can, if you understood how simple it was, you can choose to be anything you wish right now, and it almost instantly you see the effect of it. And this is, I'm just amazed at being a participant in it. We're all participants, whether we're aware of it or not. But I'm so grateful that I am an aware participant to some degree as to what it is that we're actually creating here, and the potential of what can be is I'm just excited, and I'm glad that to be a part of it. And this is my life. This is what I do. Sharing information. I was a teacher for 20 some odd years, so I enjoy learning and teaching, and this is all possible now. It's happening, and I'm experiencing my joy every morning when I wake up, and it's sometimes disheartening when you have to come back down to 3D. But sometimes you do, and that's the thing, walking into the two different worlds, because they're two completely different realities. Lisa will tell you, anyone on the panel will tell you, when you have to go and do the mundane 3D things, you're in a complete, you're like, oh my goodness.
It serves its purpose by providing the contrast, though.
Yes.
Yes, going into a mall is just lovely right now.
Contrast. Love it. Look, I just wanted to say I can't believe the conversation we're having. If you cast your minds back to the day before you saw the first published publications from the People's Trust and how you felt about the future, were you not steeling yourself for something which is not here? And the conversation we have is something completely different. We've gone to a completely different place in less than a month. And I'm, like everybody else, I am just so excited and grateful and pleased, and my breath is taken as to just the magnitude of what we're looking at instead of all the other things that have been thrown at us for the last few years. And I just wonder where we'll be in a month's time. And I'm looking forward to that incredibly. So thank you, Heather, and all the others.
At that time, where we were at, there was this global collective sigh of disappointment that the world didn't change on the 21st of December. That's kind of what I felt. And yet, 4 or 5 days later, it was like, well, actually, it has changed.
I mean, all the filings were complete. That was simply the information was sort of made public on the 25th, but it was a done deal even by then.
Long before, yeah.
We just didn't know it, and it's brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, well, to think for many hundreds and hundreds of years, these robber barons have gotten away with their little rules and maritime so-called laws, and been able to harvest the energy of mankind, and we didn't know a way out. They had the most superior claim on the planet. I mean, they've got papal bulls, for goodness sakes, Those are heavy documents. They're written in blood, kids' blood, on parchment, which you don't know what sort of an animal or whatever creature they killed to get that document, and then they put their spells on those, they put all their so-called holy spells on those bulls, and then they put them away in their they archived them in their in the Vatican, and no one has been able to trump that, and now we have. So we've put to death a big beast, Goliath, so to speak. We won't know ourselves in the next few weeks. The changes that are coming upon this earth exponentially. Brace yourself, folks. Brace yourselves, because what is coming is the remembering of who we are, and that we will remember that we are belonging to the unity, not the uniformity of the world. They always co-opt true and beautiful things, and rather than give you unity, they give you uniformity. Don this uniform on and follow some orders, and we will have a new world order. Good little foot soldiers. Well, that's all over. We are all now in our sovereignty, for want of a better word, in our dominion, and hallelujah, the time has come. Let's act upon that and be responsible and go forward from this point forward. Heather, what do you say to that with the closing 3 minutes?
I think that I'm speechless. Your guys' doing is amazing.
Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Yep. Loud and clear.
Yes.
I mean, I'm just so grateful to be a part of all your guys' energy and working together. It's an amazing experience. It makes everything from those moments of non-fun just totally worth it. So thank you for having fun with me and letting me have fun with you.
Wonderful. Anyone else, please? Closing thoughts. 2 minutes. All right.
I've had my say, so I'm good.
No, I'm
okay.
good. I'm good. Look.
Well, I'll close it out then, friends. Thank you very, very much, everyone, for participating. Please continue. With perseverance, we will see the beautiful things that are in our hearts unfold on the earth. There will be that beautiful paradise that we have always longed and known could exist. The potential is there. We know it. The time has arrived. Now we have got most of the tools, or if not all of the tools. We have all of the tools to go forward in honour, to live in honour. And if it means only that we have awakened on a personal level, well, how beautiful is that? When you awaken to your divinity, it doesn't matter what the powers that were or that think that are can do to you. Because then one knows that when you arrive at the knowing that you are all that ever was, all that is and all that ever will be, they can destroy your body, but they can never, ever destroy the soul. So, folks, thank you for listening to Freedom Reigns and Syncretism. This is my last show on Blog Talk too, by the way. I'm very, very busy with other commitments now, as I shared with you last week. So, thanks once again, friends, for the panel, and take care, one and all. We've now run out of time, and everyone, please take care. Lots of love, and bye-bye.
Thanks for having us, Santos.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye, everybody. See ya.
Bye-bye. Welcome, one and all. Beautiful day here today, 28th of January. Full moon last night, beautiful in Australia, clear skies. Today's a rather coolish day here. And welcome, everybody. Welcome, listeners. And thanks for joining. As I promised, today will be a follow-up of last week's show we did regarding the perfected superior claim of the People's Trust. And without further ado, it's with great pleasure to welcome the rest of the guys. Lisa, hello, how are you?
Hi, Santos. Morning. It's raining here too, and I hope the rain doesn't get too loud for you. I was hoping it would sound like a nice water fountain in the background, but if it gets too much, let me know.
It does. It sounds great. What have you got? Have you got a flat roof or something to get that sound?
Oh yes, above me I have.
Yeah, that's nice.
And I'm outdoors because it's still warm. It's pouring, but it's warm.
Yeah. Now, who else have we got? Chris, you there? Bob?
Yeah, hi everybody. It's beautiful down here in Melbourne. Santos will know this. We've got a beautiful, calm, clear, sunny day. Yep. Nice summer's day. Nice Aquarian summer's day. Of course, the Northern Hemisphere people will not understand what that means, but we in Australia are used to Sagittarius, Capricorn and Aquarius being very, very hot. But normally those signs are associated with winter and the cold. And if you do go out today, folks, might pay to just mention for a couple of minutes that right above your heads at midnight, right now for the next couple of months, will be the winter triangle and the winter hexagon. The winter triangle is inside the winter hexagon. Once you identify the winter triangle, you will have no problems finding the hex. Check it out, guys. It's glorious. When you spot the winter hex, you will always see it there in the winter skies.
and you'll always point it out. You can't miss it. Orion is right inside it, and so are Gemini, the twins. Bob, are you there? I think we might have trouble with Bob, but anyway, look, and we've got Dee joining us in about 15 minutes, so Bob's still trying to get on the air. How are you guys, anyway? First of all,
constantly picking up my brain off the floor. Information overload.
Yeah, we're just being gobsmacked by stuff that's starting to pour out. Lisa, just before the show, Lisa said she's going to have to stop the sleep thing. No more sleeping.
Yeah, I was wondering what I could do to do that too, because it seems like we're so busy these days that from all waking hours I spend basically in front of the computer doing all this.
Every now moment is very, very full.
Everything.
Extremely, and there's just so much to talk about. We talked about a lot on the show last week, and obviously we can't cover all the same ground again. We can touch on stuff we went through last week, but there's so many issues that are prescient and directly related. And I believe the astrologer
confess to anything.
You just went a bit garbled then, Bob.
Yeah, he said they're not going to openly confess to anything.
Yeah,
no.
They're not going to self-incriminate themselves.
Yeah.
So
go, Chris.
I was just going to say one of the aspects of this is when you use these UCC filings. I think at this point in time, if you use these UCC filings, one of the things that's going to happen is you won't get any response from them because they can't respond. And a relative of Bob's has actually just submitted some material to the bank based on these UCC filings. Do you want to speak to that briefly, Bob? Because I believe they've had no response.
Go, Bob, please.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was muted. I'm sitting here talking. Yeah, my uncle had a court case, and he was fighting against the line of credit that they were saying that he supposedly owed, and he submitted the UCC filings. He actually did the personal filing, had it recorded, and submitted the entire template that was provided from the One People's Trust as far as the declaration and order is concerned. And he sent that in along with the commercial bill and gave them 72 hours with which to respond. And, of course, they did not respond, and I don't expect them to. But as I learned in kindergarten, silence is golden. So, and what will eventually happen is either they're going to try to ignore it, and which is something that, understand that they have always been pretending to be a court. They've been pretending to be a government for 150 years. And it's all a pretense. It's all a charade. And they're going to try and continue that charade until people start to embody. And this is one of the things that you really have to, this whole idea of embodying the being of free. And when you do that and you stand your ground and you remove all of those illusions and you let them know that they're pretending, then the charade is over. The game is over, because they can no longer pretend to be acting in the place of any sort of authority figure, because there's none there. It's like a paper dragon. And it may look fierce and show its teeth and growl and even smoke, but the substance behind it is air. And that's all it is. And people need to understand that there's no substance behind their authority unless you consent to it.
Yeah, it's all done by consent, guys. And And it all begins with our signature. These people, although we know that the bar is a group of dishonourable traitors practicing their practice of legalese on you, spelling that out with their black magic spells in court on you with their bits of paper, that is dishonourable. And yet, they need your signature so that they can, quote-unquote, be honourable in their practices. You see, so they do all things in honour. First of all, they invite you to sin. Now, I've done this in my presentations. Sinning is signing. That's why there's a silent G in there. Never, ever sign for anything, people. Never, ever sign for anything. You're going to sign anything, box it, or put V.C in front of it because you were signing under duress, or just avoid signing anything because that's how they do it. They want you to sin with them. If you can sin or sign with their papers, then they lick their lips because they know that their magic is perfected on you and they can act honourably according to them. But they're being exposed. Beautiful things are happening around the world. I did mention last week about the Italians that I'm hooking up with now on a weekly basis. For them to have discovered that the Republic of Italy is a corporation registered in New York, and to find that their government is from New York, is very, very upsetting. It's very upsetting. Same thing is going on in Australia. The state of Victoria, where I was born, is registered in New York. The Commonwealth of Australia is registered in New York. They've done a switcheroony on us. And so basically they've taken everybody off their respective lands and brought them onto some kind of a maritime ship over there in New York, run by the Vatican and the Jesuits and the Zionist banksters. And they have to cease and desist. I guess. What do you reckon, guys? Lisa, we also have Brian from American Kabuki. Can we get?
I think you've also got Dee there too in the queue. She's already with us. And I just before you bring him out though, I just wanted to address the concern people have is cops, because they're the first line of offence, and you know, unfortunately, they're armed and they're dangerous, and for the most part, they're very ignorant of who they really are and the costume they're really wearing. And even as we're in this process of trying to embody this sense of freedom, and you can be feeling amazing and driving down the road doing absolutely nothing wrong and see a cop and have that sense of fear just completely overwhelm you. It still happens to me, even though I know I'm not doing anything wrong even in their eyes. And how we then address this, you know, these individuals who, for the most part, I think really truly do believe they're doing the right thing, and they believe that they are who they say they think they are. You know, they think they are in a position of authority. They think they are protecting the general public. Some of them, I know, are just looking for a fight and believe everybody's guilty. They're just trying to figure out what you've done wrong. And so we need to change our relationship to them. And there are a number of ways we can do that. For me personally, it's about seeing them as people in costumes, but it's also, I think we need to go down to our local police station and start having conversations with these people. You know, by preempting any encounter with them and just having a discussion with them and saying, guys, present them with information, present them with YouTube videos, present them with documents, present them with stuff, and just go, help me help you understand.
One of the things that is important to understand about these filings and what makes these filings so very, very important in their use is because these filings they're coming from within. They're coming from within the system. They're coming from within UCC. And because it's coming from within and because they're unrebutted and it's part of the public record, and what these filings are saying is these people who are issuing collections, who are running private money systems, slavery systems, are guilty of treason. So when you present these documents, the assumption is, because they are operating in that capacity, that they are also guilty of treason, and you are offering them to prove otherwise.
One of the things about what Bob's uncle did is very important, in that his document creates a link. His UCC filing, his personal UCC, is actually, for the next couple of months, is looking quite stunning, Santos. We started to talk about that yesterday.
Oh yeah, okay. Well, let's do a bit of that too today. We'll do that. I did check out the skies for March, and there's some pretty powerful alignments. There's 3 on the 24th of March. We have 3 major conjugations. Mercury with Uranus, that's a biggie. We have Venus and the Sun, and we will also have Mars and Neptune, if I'm not wrong, those 3. And that's going to spell a lot of powerful energy in the skies for my birthday, and all the way till someone's got some background noise, by the way. What's that?
Yeah, I can hear that too. It's not me, though.
No, I was just wondering what that is.
Bob, are you there?
I'm here, but it wasn't me. I was on mute. And hello, Santos.
Hey, how are you, Bob?
Finally
Thanks
made
for
it
joining
through.
us. Yes, you did. We'll sort out this noise in the background in a minute. Never mind. Now, yeah, so we'll talk about that in a minute. But, you know, guys, we did cover a lot of stuff yesterday. What I want to do today is open the caller lines in about, in the next, for the second hour. That way people can hit you up with some pertinent questions. Now, we're not giving any advice, and we're not really experts here. We are just sorting through this ourselves. We know all the ins and outs, well, not all the ins and outs, but we're working those out of the People's Trust, and we're just trying to share as much as we have. So bear with us, folks. The reason I took this show on today was just to do a follow-up and to be able to field as many questions as possible and perhaps cover stuff that we didn't get to in the first one. So, guys, if we were to speak about today, if we could speak about the positive subject of how we can now act knowing that we are under a perfected superior trust. Now, the powers that be, or that were, may not acknowledge it, but since the rules of law are those, and they perfected the trust perfectly, we can confidently go forward in the light that, and in the knowing that this trust has been perfected in the eyes of heaven. Now, we know that the corporations that currently operate on this planet do not acknowledge that, and so there's probably going to be a little bit of a confrontation there. But how can we, knowing that we are under this trust, how can we live now, and how can we, if we've got cases in court and we've got letters to write and we've got rates to pay and struggles with the banks and all sorts of situations, what can we do? You know, what practical things can we do?
Well, Santos, can I just start by saying that they're not acknowledging it. From what I understand, they can't acknowledge it without admitting it, so to speak, without acknowledging and admitting and taking on the liability. So they have to ignore it, and they're caught between a rock and a hard place. They can't admit it and they can't rebut it. They stand unrebutted because they are unrebuttable. And any attempt on their part to unrebut is actually a form of admission. So,
and what it is that they're admitting to is high treason, which is punishable by death in most countries. So they're not going to self-incriminate themselves. They're not going to, openly.
UCC filing is permanently linked back to the People's Trust filings. And when and if the system tries to contact him again to take up the court case against him that they think they have, all he has to do is point back to his filing, which points back to the People's Trust filing, and say, "Excuse me, you haven't yet rebutted my last claim. Please rebut." And at some point, he may wish to add extra terms and conditions to any further communications, which he's also entitled to do. And that's the powerful part about the UCC stuff, is the interlinking between previous significant filings related to this case and your own. You create that link, it's permanently in place. They are forced to rebut, and you've got to keep drawing their attention to it because they'll try to ignore it.
Beautiful. Let's elaborate more on this. We'll bring in Brian, 760. Brian, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Loud and clear. Thank you very much for joining us.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. I appreciate you guys putting on the call.
Yeah, thank you. And also D, 978. Are you there, D?
I think she needs a couple of minutes.
Oh, okay.
I am right here. I'm just fiddling with technology.
Great. Hey, guys, before we get we welcome you properly and hear from you, let's just go straight to a caller because it looks like we might be busy today. We've got 253. Can we take that caller then? So 253, are you there?
I am. How are you guys?
Very well, thank you.
Good.
This is Loie. Hi, Dee. Hi, Brian.
Hi, Loie.
Hi, Lois.
Hi, Lois.
Hi, babes. Listen, on that UCC in the declaration and so forth, they have to do that 3 times. 72 hours. If they don't rebut, another 72 hours. If they don't rebut, another 72 hours. If they don't rebut, then you can foreclose on them.
Yes.
So it takes 3 times, not just one time, and wait to hear from them. If they don't respond in 72 hours, you have to do it again. So I just wanted to clarify that with people that if they think they do it once, that's all they have to do it, but they don't. They have to do it 3 times.
So it's like in court. Once you've said it 3 times, then you walk out.
Then you never have to go back to court anyway with the UCC and the declaration. All you have to do is file it 3 times with them, and within 72 hours each time. And if they don't come back at you, then you can foreclose on them.
Now, Lois, if you mistime that, if you come back, say, 90 hours or 120 hours later and refile, is that significant? Or is it just more than 72 hours?
I think it has to be 72 hours, but that would be a question that you probably want to pose to Heather. That's my daughter, Heather Ann Tucci-Jarraf.
Yes, indeed.
So hey guys, this is Brian. I have a quick response to that to you, Lois, because I was speaking to a woman by the name of Angelina on Skype last night, and she's been trying to fight this traffic ticket using very obviously not the UCC docs that have only recently come out over the course of the last month or so, but through her own channels, she helps people fight against foreclosures and what have you. And the thing is she's going through what she believes to be all the proper procedures, but the whole thing is getting sandbagged because she's just one person, and there's nobody there to enforce the law on the people that are breaking it. So the big issue here, and I know that it's going to be the main issue coming up for a lot of the people that are going to be calling in, is where does the enforcement come? And Lisa, I know you brought this up in the chat room recently. I just watched